Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that's absolutely teeming with life. To be specific, there are around 200 different species for you to marvel at, or, more likely, kill for their pelts. As you're probably aware though, some of these critters are a bit different. There are 16 rare and valuable legendary animals for you to hunt down during your adventures with Arthur Morgan, offering a bit of a challenge and yielding some really useful crafting materials. They're a bit different from the ordinary fauna of RDR2 in that they aren't just wandering around waiting for you to pick them off. Instead, you need to track them down by finding clues in their general vicinity before they spawn. So to help you on the hunt, here's a handy guide to where you can find each one, how far through the game you need to be in order to access it, and, most importantly, how best to bring it down. Of the 16, 10 can be hunted down from the moment you complete the game's first chapter, but 6 require you to have either got to a certain part in the game's story or reached a certain hunting challenge level. For the sake of simplicity, we'll start with the 10 that can be hunted early on before moving on to the final 6. Spoilers for the legendary animals in Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously, but anyone worried about story spoilers can rest easy. I'm not giving anything away. The first animal on our list is the legendary wolf. You can find this one in Katora Springs to the west of Bacchus Bridge and northwest of Bacchus Station. You'll notice a wolf drawing on the map, which is pretty handy. If you stick a waypoint just above its head, it'll lead you to the first clue. There are 3 in all for you to find: some dung, some fur, and then a carcass from a recent kill. Now, if you go to this location and you can't find the first clue, don't panic. It's probably the game and not you. Red Dead Redemption 2 will occasionally fail to spawn the first clue into the world. If this happens, travel away from the area, camp for the night, and come back the following day when it should be fine. Anyway, once you've found all 3, the legendary animal will spawn into the area. Now, the wolf will be patrolling to the east of the carcass, so if you don't fancy getting up close and personal, you can climb the nearby rocky outcrop and snipe at the wolf from a safe distance. A couple of headshots with a scoped rifle should do the trick, but be on your guard in case things don't go to plan. There's a lot of open ground at Katora Springs, so it's not difficult for the wolf to close the distance and do you some serious harm. The legendary wolf, in fact, is capable of killing you even while it's limping, so it really does pay to stay on your guard. If it does manage to get within close range, however, then your best bet is to open up with a shotgun, preferably using Deadeye at the same time. One of the other things that sets the legendary animals of Red Dead Redemption 2 apart is the fact their pelts can't be spoiled by using the wrong weapon type, so there's nothing to stop you absolutely going to town with your Deadeye. We're off to Blue Water Marsh for the second animal on our list, which is the legendary boar. Blue Water Marsh can be found to the north of Lagros and, as the name suggests, it's a wetland, one that's teeming with ordinary boar, a surefire indicator that you're in the right spot. Head to the area that's just beneath the picture of the boar on the map and you'll find the first clue, which is a pile of dung. Once again, there are 3 clues in total, including some broken sticks and even more dung. Once the boar appears, to be honest, that's the hard part over. This legendary animal isn't aggressive, so you should have plenty of time to line up a couple of headshots and put it down for good. Or hell, you can use dynamite if you really fancy it. Like I said, you can't spoil these pelts no matter what you do, so you may as well get creative. The legendary moose is up next. It lives around Roanoke Ridge at the northeast tip of the game map. The area itself is directly north of the words Brandywine Drop, and the first clue is just to the north of the curving path near the drawing of the moose, specifically in line with the Y in Brandywine. Scout out the other 2 clues in the area and the big old cervid will show up. It's not especially aggressive, so you can take your time getting set up for this one, although bear in mind it can take quite a bit of punishment before it goes down. If you're using a bow and arrow, for example, it'll take between 3 and 4 solid headshots, so maybe don't use a bow and arrow. Our next quarry is the legendary Bighorn Ram, which makes its home to the east of Cattail Pond. Cattail Pond itself, in case you were wondering, is to the northwest of Valentine. The first clue is on the dotted trail that runs parallel to the lake. It's toward the top of the path, about level with the mouth of the goat on the map. Follow the trail to the other clues and you'll then be able to find the ram on a nearby hilltop. You might need to be careful with how you approach this one, however, the bighorn is a skittish animal and if it catches your scent, it'll do a legger. It'll also try and flee if you land a non-fatal hit on it, but to be honest that's fairly understandable. You can get around this problem by using the cover scent tonic, disguising your smell for long enough to sneak up on the bighorn and line up a proper kill shot. You'll need some warm clothing in order to tackle the next unique creature on our list, the legendary white bison, which lives at Lake Isabella in the western part of the Grizzlies. Head to the northern part of the lake and stay close to the shoreline and you'll stumble across the first clue, which is some fur caught on a rock. Keep to the shoreline and head east to continue the hunt, and once you've found all the requisite clues, you'll see the legendary bison hiding out in the trees. The bison is another example of a legendary animal that isn't especially aggressive but can take quite a beating before giving up the ghost, so Deadeye and a rapid firing weapon like a repeater or a shotgun will be your best friend here. Now, as you go around Lake Isabella, you need to make absolutely sure you're shooting at the right animal, because this area actually plays host to two creatures not found elsewhere in the game. There's a white Arabian horse that can be found around this part of the map, and it's one of the best horses in the game if you manage to catch it, and you've got no chance of doing that, quite frankly, if you've got all excited and put a bullet in its head. If you want to know more about catching the white Arabian horse, you can check out Aoife's video on advanced tips for Red Dead Redemption 2. Getting back to the noble art of hunting for the time being though, we're off after a legendary beaver next. Nothing wrong with that sentence at all. Anyway, you'll want to head toward Butcher Creek for this one. On the shore to the southwest of Huron Glen, just below the front paw of the beaver drawing on the map, is where you'll find your first clue, some broken sticks. The trail will then lead you towards some beaver poo and then some more broken sticks. The beaver itself is pretty easy to kill, being, as it is, a beaver, albeit a legendary one. You know the drill by now, the pelt won't suffer no matter how you dispatch it, so hey, blow it up for all I care. This next beast, mind you, is not quite so easy to dispatch as the humble beaver. The legendary buck resides in Big Valley, northwest of the town of Strawberry. The first clue, some fur, can be found to the southwest of the bee in Big Valley on the map, about level with the bottom of the antlers on the elk drawing on the map itself. Follow the trail to a couple of different mounds of poop and the legendary buck will spawn into the area. Now this has the potential to be one of the more frustrating hunts as the buck is extremely fast, it's got a big area to roam around in, and there are loads of trees to block the line of sight. You're free to choose your approach, whether you go in hard from close range or play more patiently and pick it off from afar, but just be prepared for a more protracted hunt if things don't go your way. The 8th pelt we're picking up on this list of legendary animals is the legendary Coyote, situated in Scarlet Meadows to the northwest of Rhodes. The first clue is south-southwest of the L in Lemoyne on the map, where there's some dung sitting at the top of a copse. The trail will then lead you to a dead sheep, and the coyote can be found roaming the waterhole just beyond that. Speed is the main thing to worry about with this one. While it doesn't do loads of damage, this particular legendary animal is very fast, so making sure your Deadeye meter is nice and full before going in certainly isn't the worst idea in the world. We're back to bagging herbivores now with the legendary elk, which you can find a little way to the east of Bacchus Station. Look for a hill just north of the track that runs into Bacchus Station and use your eagle eye to find some dung. Then follow the trail to a tree rub and then some fur. Much like the bighorn ram, the legendary elk will flee if it detects you, so mask your scent and you'll have a much easier time of it. Even if the elk does bolt, mind you, it won't stray too far and is fairly likely to double back, so just be patient and wait for the target to present itself again. Then shoot it. We're going back toward Rhodes in order to bag this next quarry, which is the legendary fox. For the first clue, look just above the head of the fox drawing on the map, and that should guide you towards some fox poo. It's a pretty densely wooded area, mind you, so don't be surprised if you don't spot it right away. Once you've found the other two clues, broken sticks and fur, for those keeping track, you should head up and over the nearby hill and toward the shoreline, where the white fox will be patrolling. It's fairly easy to pick off this one, so dispatch it however you see fit. Right, with all those killed and skinned and turned into delightful custom gear, we're on to those legendary animals that can only be accessed after a certain part of the game or a certain challenge level has been reached. The first is the legendary Tatanka Bison. The problem with this one is that it's based in the southwest of the game's map, and you're extremely unlikely to get past Blackwater without being gunned down by lawmen or bounty hunters. This area opens up once you've completed Chapter 6, mind you, so just hang on until then, and you can go hunting to your heart's content. Unfortunately for me, I haven't reached that area, so I'm very sorry, but I can't show you footage. Anyway, the Tatanka Bison can be found at Hennigan's Stead, just southeast of the McFarlane Ranch. Look for the bison on the map and head to a point just south of the point where the neck joins the chest. You'll find some dung, which will lead you to some broken sticks, and then some fur, at which point the Tatanka Bison will spawn into the area. It's another legendary animal that isn't particularly aggressive, but will cheese it once you start attacking it. Unfortunately, while its massive head makes for some easy targeting, it'll take a few shots to actually bring it down, so something high-powered like a scoped rifle would be recommended. Apparently shooting it in the side of the head is more effective than going in head-on, which might make the difference between killing it and having to chase it around for a bit. The next animal, the legendary Pronghorn, is likewise locked away by the lockdown in Blackwater until you've reached the game's epilogue, and so I don't have any footage for you. For this one, you're going to need to trundle over to Rio del Lobo Rock to the east of Fort Mercer. Looking at the drawing of the Pronghorn on the map, you'll want to travel north of its bum until you're about level with the R on Rio. There's a tuft of fur waiting to start you on the trail, then once you've found the third clue, you need to keep an eye out for, basically, a big white goat. It's not very aggressive, but you're unlikely to kill it in one shot, so using Deadeye to your advantage is a good way to finish it off swiftly. The legendary Cougar is the third legendary animal that's tucked away in the southwest once you've finished Chapter 6, so once you've reached that point, head to Gaptooth Ridge, west of Tumbleweed, and just north of the P in Gaptooth. As with most of the legendary animals, there are 3 clues to find, and the last one is a carcass. Before you examine this one and spawn the Cougar in, mind you, it's a good idea to use some cover scent tonic and make sure your health and Deadeye are both nicely topped up. The Cougar can soak up a surprising amount of damage, and it is also very swift. Having a pop at it with a sniper rifle before switching to, say, a pump action or fully automatic shotgun and turning on your Deadeye is a pretty good way of going about it, but either way, be prepared for a potentially tricky fight. And the final 3 animals on this legendary list are locked away behind certain bits of story progression or challenge ranking. The legendary Giaguaro Panther, for instance, is only available after you've completed the Master Hunter Challenge rank 9. Which I haven't done. It can be found to the west of Shady Bell in Lemoyne. Have a scout around the area denoted by the drawing and you'll be able to find it easily enough. You'll need pretty much the exact same approach to this fight as you had with the legendary Cougar one, so make good use of your Deadeye and make sure your health core is good and fortified. The penultimate prize animal on this list is the legendary Bharati Grizzly Bear, which is only unlocked after completing the mission Exit Pursued by a Bruised Ego in Chapter 2. Once Josiah has introduced you to this especially grisly grizzly bear, you need to head just north of O'Creer's Run. Relative to the drawing of the bear, the first clue is on its elbow. As you track this particular animal, you need only 2 clues in order to spawn it, so be careful of your movements after finding the second clue so as not to blunder into its waiting jaws. Unlike the Cougar fight, you can use the environment to your advantage in this one by clambering on top of the big rocks nearby and using a scoped rifle to pick it off. You can always try using Deadeye for a more up-close and personal touch, of course, but given the Bharati Grizzly can take a lot of damage before going down, that might leave you vulnerable if you aren't careful. And very finally, we come to the legendary Bull Gator. This legendary animal is apparently unlocked after the mission Country Pursuits in Chapter 4, although to be honest, it didn't show up for me, and I know a lot of other people have had this issue, so if it doesn't show up, wait until the start of Chapter 6 and it should spawn in then. Anyway, to find this one, get over to Bayou Nova, just west of Lacaille, and you'll find the first clue situated just off to the east of the Rose. At least you would do if it is spawned in. Anyway, you'll want to be pretty well prepared for this one, as it's probably the hardest legendary animal to bring down. The Bull Gator is very fast, and the terrain offers little in the way of protection, so you do well to bung a load of dynamite at it, to be perfectly honest. Using Deadeye to line up a bunch of headshots is also a good tactic. Basically, do as much damage as you can, and try your best not to get eaten. And there you have it, that's where to find every legendary animal in Red Dead Redemption 2 and how best to kill them. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, we've got loads of other videos on Red Dead Redemption 2, some of those should be on screen now, so do give one of those a click. Do like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss anything else from Eurogamer, but most importantly, thank you very much for watching, and happy hunting!